Madam President, Mercedes, President Schulz, Martin, distinguished mayors and regional representatives, ladies and gentlemen. It is a real privilege for me today to bring you some closing remarks here at the 5th European Summit of Regions and Cities. And on behalf of the Danish EU presidency, I would like to congratulate you on two, as I understand it, very productive days here in Copenhagen. You have been engaged in a vigorous discussion on a wide-ranging agenda. You have approached difficult issues in a problem-solving manner, and you have achieved important results as reflected in the declaration that you are to adopt shortly. Thank you very much for a job well done. I would also like to pay tribute to our three co-organizers of this event, the Committee of the Regions, the City of Copenhagen, and the Capital Region of Denmark. They have all put in a great effort into this. I believe that this conference has made good progress on some of the key challenges facing Europe today. And let me underline right away that you play a key role in confronting all these challenges, as you have always done. Europe's intense patchwork of regions and cities remains a fundamental driver of economic growth, job creation, and technological innovation. And let's not forget, I think perhaps sometimes we do, but let's not forget that regional and urban identities are older than our national identities. Historically speaking, it is no small part thanks to the endless competition and a constant exchange of knowledge, goods and people between European principalities, city-states and regional pools of excellence that we have prospered and become the Europe that we know today. For centuries, our cities, our regions have inspired each other and learned from one another. Today, European intercity and interregional cooperation and competition still remains true drivers of progress, which national governments of the European Union should protect and support. And particularly, with the enormous challenges facing the EU today, our joint effort is as important as ever. The economic crisis is hurting. It shuts down companies and it lays off our workers. It is putting our families out of their homes, and it is causing generations of both old and young to despair about their job prospects. The constituencies that you represent here today perhaps experience this more than others, and particularly on a daily basis. It is city administrations that have to deal with the social unrest and disarray from young people who see their future being thrown into question when they are unemployed. It is remote regions and communities that are threatened on their survival when jobs become few and far between. And my point is that you, perhaps more than anyone else, know the real effects of the economic crisis. This crisis affects all of us. It requires us to act together, seek common solutions, and take joint action. This is why 25 member states decided to sign the Fiscal Compact earlier this month, and thereby ensuring greater fiscal discipline in our national budgets. However, we must not forget that fiscal consolidation is only a means to an end. It is a means to sustain and modernize Europe's social market economy. For it is by sustaining and modernizing our social market model that we, as national governments, regional authorities, city administration, give real meaning to the core value of solidarity, social safety nets, and equal opportunities that are so dear and at the core of what Europe is about. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished members of the Committee of Regions, on this backdrop, the economic crisis, allow me to turn to the highly important topic of sustainable development. I am extremely pleased to note that this issue is prominently reflected in your declaration. A clear and strategic focus on sustainable development with a path to green transformation of the economy will support and enhance current efforts in leaving the crisis behind us. Your input as regional authorities and mayors of European cities is essential if Europe's transition to green economy is to become practical reality in our daily lives. And we all know that you are already doing your part. For instance, in this city, in the city where this conference is being held, climate change and sustainable development has been at the top of the agenda for years. The city of Copenhagen decided that by 2025, the city is to be completely CO2 neutral and to cut 20% of greenhouse gas emissions by 2015. Similarly, the capital region of Denmark, where you also are now, has put forward a strategy developing better systems to monitor and control greenhouse gas emissions and set out concrete goals for CO2 emissions. Many other cities across Europe and many other regions across Europe are lifting their share of the burden with similar actions at local level. These stories remind us that the green agenda is as much a regional and urban issue as it is a national and global issue. And you play a pivotal role in terms of devising sustainable housing policies, fostering urban renewal, building greener transport networks, providing cleaner waste treatment, investing in more efficient heating system, and so on and so on. In short, you are in the front line of sustainable development. And let me use this opportunity to express my deep appreciation for the strong wording in your draft declaration on sustainable urban development, as well as on the long-term objective on the carbon-neutral economy. And rest assured that the Danish EU presidency will heed your very timely call for a European voice on sustainable development at the Rio+20 summit in June. I fully share your view that countries must do more to mainstream sustainable urban development strategies into their national policy planning. We are ourselves, of course, busy preparing for the Rio summit, and we will do our utmost to make sure that Europe's political and economic leverage bear in order to achieve a successful outcome. But there is much more to it than a single conference. Everyone knows that. Sustainable development and green growth is also a key priority for my government here in Denmark. Actually, it is part of our mission statement of what we want to achieve. Only yesterday, we managed to secure broad political support for the most ambitious energy agreement ever seen in the history of Danish politics. It is, I think, the most ambitious plan in Europe, and it is perhaps the most ambitious plan in the world. I'm quite proud of it. This agreement secures a number of important objectives by 2020. First of all, it will bring a stunning 34% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions measures in 1990 levels. Secondly, it will ensure that 35% of our total energy consumption is generated from renewable resources. And thirdly, It provides the constructions of a new major wind farms, whose combined effect of all these wind farms would be the equivalent of the energy consumption of 1.5 million homes. As a consequence, by 2020, half of Danish electricity consumption will be provided by wind energy. As I said before, this agreement does not only bring Denmark in the lead when it comes to the green economy transition, it is also estimated to create up to 8,000 new jobs in the Danish energy sector. And this brings me to what this is also about. And this is why green growth is so important. We know that many people are asking, this climate frenzy that you had, let's put it behind us. Let's now focus on the economic development and the economic sustainability of Europe. Can Europe really afford a transition to a green economy? This is one of the big topics being debated. But ladies and gentlemen, let me say in no uncertain terms here today that I understand why this question is being asked. Because for the people queuing up at Europe's job centres, or for the students and elderly who are unable to make ends meet because they are the victims of stringent austerity measures, sustainable development must seem a fairly remote goal. And it is perfectly understandable if they feel that Europe's leaders would be better off dealing with their issues here now than sustainable development. But I also like to say, ladies and gentlemen, that I think it would be a big mistake if we left it at that. I actually don't believe that Europe can afford not to discuss green growth. And it is as much about overcoming the current crisis by way of creating new knowledge-based jobs in Europe's green sector in the short term, as it is about liberating Europe in the longer run from our addiction to oil. And the consequence of inaction will be enormous. And the consequence of inaction will start today. A study done recently by the European Commission predicts that the amount of investment and innovation required to reduce European emissions by 80% can generate up to 1.5 million new jobs. The Commission also estimates that their proposal for new energy efficiency directive would deliver about 2 million jobs. And last month, the European Policy Centre in Brussels published their report on the green revolution as a driver for growth in Europe, and they have even higher expectations. The growth potential of pursuing the green agenda is there. Of course, we will have to continue analysing this and understanding the growth potential, but we must also understand that it has a consequence if we don't act. And of course, we also had to understand that green jobs won't appear out of the blue sky. They will only appear if we act boldly and if we act now. For many years, the EU has been a front-runner globally on sustainable development and clean technologies. Today, however, what we need to do is to scale up investment in Europe's green sector and move speedily to adopt the necessary legislation in Brussels. We must also ensure the proper engagement of the private sector, which plays such an important role in the green transition, especially in regards to green innovation and job creation. I believe that Europe will only be able to maintain our advantage as first movers if we act ambitiously, engaging both governments, but also regions and cities, international organizations, and the private sector. If we do this right, if we get this right, if together we secure a green transformation of our economy, we will not only have laid the tracks to exit the current crisis, we will also have created the foundation for green growth and jobs in the future. Together, we could transform Europe into a green superpower. Our resolve has been there in the past, and our resolve in the past has shown us that we are capable of making this happen. And I believe our peoples, our decision makers, our companies are ready, perhaps more than anyone else in the world, to embark on this task. I call for cooperation in achieving this. We can't do it alone, the member state. We can only do that together with the cities and the regions. Let's make it happen. Let's work together. Thank you very much.